Talk about hitting the zeitgeist here with this film. There's so many layers to it. Emerald called it a poison popcorn movie when I talked to her, and it is. It's wildly entertaining, but so much to talk about, and not the typical thing you think it's going to be. I mean,
Mm.
here you see it set up, and she's luring these guys, and I say, oh, she's going to turn into a serial killer, and blah, blah, blah. Nothing like that. It's so extraordinary, and gave you yet another wonderful role to play.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of couldn't believe it when she sent it to me. Um,
Why
and
is that? Why could
I mean, I just, it's a massive responsibility, I think because it does, because it's the central part, and because it's such a kind of intricately woven story, and the way that she reveals the plot is just, I think on repeat viewing you realize more and more and more how brilliant the script is. I mean, I think it's, you've learned that on the first time round, but the more you think about this film, the way that Emerald wrote it, I think is just extraordinary. And I felt, absolutely honored to be offered the part, but also because it talks about things that are real to so many people, and it talks about it in a way that we're probably not used to, in that it kind of is humorous, and it's dark, and it's witty, and we're dealing with incredibly sensitive stuff. So it did feel like a sort of, yeah, a bit of a tightrope walk, to go on.
And hitting the right tone is so much trickier than people realize when you make it look so easy. Now that we watched the movie, oh, that's great, it all works, but that is not an easy souffle to bake here. And she said that she didn't want the audience to know what the movie was at different points. She said, "Oh, here they'll think it, when you and you're dancing in the shop, oh, they'll think it's my rom-com, and they'll think it's a drama, or they'll think it's a thriller. They won't know what to think. The audience is off balance through the whole thing." Was that for you as an actor too, conscious of that?
Yeah, well, I was, on first reading it, definitely, and I think that's part of the trepidation I felt before I met Emerald, was like, how do you pull this off? Because you are 1 minute sort of disturbed, 1 minute feeling really uncomfortable, 1 minute you're laughing out loud, and I think as an audience member, that's it's it's a totally different experience. But the minute I met Emerald, literally within 5 minutes of sitting down with her, I felt completely calm. Like, it was just absolute faith, absolute trust. So for me, it wasn't really something that I had to think about. I didn't give it really any thought when we were on set. I wasn't. I just trusted, and I knew that my job wasn't really to try and sell any kind of badass character. That's, I don't think you can play as enough. That's not something to play. I think what there was to play was someone who was dealing with grief and trauma, and someone who was looking for forgiveness for themselves, and someone who's dealing with something kind of kind of akin to addiction, and all of those things felt very sort of playable, and so that's what we kind of set to work trying to figure out.
And then I don't want to give it away if you haven't seen the movie yet. Shame on you. Got to go see this movie. But the ending was so interesting and so risky the way it went, and no one could have predicted that, I don't think.
No, no, I think it is. And what's amazing about Emerald is that she was steadfast about that from the beginning, and I'm sure it wasn't as an easy road. And she plays this down and minimizes it because she's cool, but like, you know, uh, there were definitely people who would have asked that to be a different ending.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she just said, that this was the ending, that this was the only ending. So she was just absolutely. I mean, I said to someone earlier, but it was like someone put, if you had put a little mini projector coming out of her brain from the first meeting that we had, it would look exactly like the film. Like, she had the whole thing, kind of like the Coen brothers, they kind of have storyboarded out the whole movie. She had kind of storyboarded the whole movie in her head, complete with soundtrack and picture. And I mean, it really is extraordinary.
That really is amazing, and it's drawn such interesting reactions from both men and women, and you treat the scene we just saw here, you dealing with that dean of that school, you're doing the same thing to women too. I mean, this is a very complicated thing. It's not just black and white here.
No, and I think that's what we were sort of interested in looking at. We're both the same age. We both, had pretty similar upbringings, and I think we were sort of, the interest in this for us in making the film was much more cultural than anything else. It was, why was so much of this really normal and run of the mill for us growing up? Like, nothing that happens in this film has not happened in some kind of comedy in the last sort of 20 years. It's all this, it's the butt of jokes. So there's nothing kind of particularly shocking about it until you realise that you're seeing it from the other angle, and you're seeing, the truth of what those situations are when they're not a punchline. So it's I think, it's from it's painfully common, really, what we're talking about in this film, and that's the point, is that it's been normalised to a degree where it's been a gag, it's been a joke for so long. And I think kind of reflecting on that is part of this, and the way that we are all. I've watched all those films and thought they were hilarious and brilliant, and never once thought, well, wait, that's a bit, And now it reframes those things, and it makes you think about them differently, maybe.
It totally does, and it's interesting too, um, that it sparked, oddly enough, ironically, one reviewer, this is infamous, you've talked about this, but in Variety, wrote a review, totally didn't get it, and
Mm.
actually fell into the trap that this movie is really about, didn't see it at all, and you even had the publication apologize for that review, which was good for you. Do you read your reviews? First, I was shocked. Some actors don't even want to read their reviews, but you know,
I don't want to read them, and then I find myself in a hotel room at sort of 3 o'clock in the morning, not able to sleep. And but no, I mean, I don't really. I just, I'm sort of occasionally weak. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just, important to stand behind the things, the values of the film that you made, if you believe in them, if they matter to you, and that felt like standing behind the values of the film that we made.
yeah, and there is really so much for thought in it. I Before we give you this award, I do want to ask you what's next. I think you're doing a picture with Bradley Cooper. Is that right? The Leonard Bernstein movie, Maestro.
I am, yes, I'm doing that. So very exciting. It's the most beautiful script. I mean, just unbelievable. And he's an incredible director. So I couldn't be more excited to get going, and I'm desperate to. I'm so excited to do SNL just so I can act, because I haven't acted for so long. I've just been my bedtime stories for my children have becoming like increasingly dramatic and expansive, and I think I need to put that energy somewhere in a professional realm. So yeah, I can't wait to get going.
I can't wait for that one too. Is it true that Bradley Cooper met you backstage at Girls and Boys, and the curtain? What happened? The curtain hit you, and he intervened.
He did. He was my rescuer. So I was. It was the first preview of Girls and Boys in New York, and in the sort of final 20 minutes, there was a scene change in blackout, and the safety curtain hit me on the head. And I kind of carried on because no one had seen it, not even the crew, so no one knew. So I just sort of finished the play, came off stage, and was just hysterically crying, and I couldn't calm down, and I felt like I was going to throw up, and all the concussion things that you can imagine. And he had come to see the show because he was about to leave town, so it was the only one. And I begged him not to come to the first preview because I was like, first previews are terrible. I'm going to be awful, 90-minute monologue. I don't want him to see my first preview. But he came anyway, and my dressing room didn't have a proper wall. It was just a partition. It's the Minetta Lane. It's this tiny theatre. So he was on the other side of the wall, and someone came in and said, Bradley's here. And I was just sitting on the floor crying. He said, Bradley, you can come in now. And he came in and kind of got down on the floor with me and was like, you're not okay. We're going to the hospital. I was like, okay. So he sort of bundled me into a car and took me to hospital. And yeah, so he was my rescuer. Very grateful.
Wow. And a happy ending because now you're making a movie together that we can't wait to see.
I
Um,
know, I know.
so cool. Well, I'm excited now to interview. Deuce, your co-star from Promising Young Woman. She plays Gail, so terrific in it. Of course, you know her for so many roles that she's done, Sophia and Orange is the New Black and countless television and movies. So please welcome Laverne Cox.
Hello,
Hi.
everyone. Hello, Carey. Okay, so I am beyond honored to present the Cinema Vanguard Award to my friend and colleague, Miss Carey Mulligan. When I first read Emerald Fennell's brilliant script for Promising Young Woman, I was completely blown away. I desperately wanted to be a part of the brilliant world and vital story Emerald crafted. Having the opportunity to play opposite Oscar nominated actress Carey Mulligan was a lovely benefit and just felt really extraordinary. Carey's work has always been so subtle and understated, dialed in and deeply committed to the truth. Moment to moment work exposing the complicated humanity of every character she plays. Getting to witness that process up close was so incredibly rewarding. I love actors that can find subtleties and nuances in just a look, and Carey does just that. Carey is known as a dramatic actress, but she's also adept at comedy. There was so much levity on set. Carey's range is infinite, and perhaps the greatest testament to the impact of art is how the public responds. One of my most favorite things about being a part of this project is seeing on social media the impact that Promising Young Woman is having on survivors and the loved ones of survivors everywhere. The empathy and humanity at the core of Carey's performance is providing catharsis and healing for audiences all over the world who see their stories in Cassie's. I love that this award has Vanguard in the title. Vanguard means that you are ahead, that you are leading the way. And I believe that true artists are all vanguards. Carey Mulligan is a true artist. In Promising Young Woman, my character Gail is Cassie's only friend, and she's there to provide comfort Cassie doesn't get from anyone else. Carey, I hope that you're comforted by the fact that you are so deeply beloved by your peers in real life and the world at large. Congratulations on this incredible award. It's so well deserved.
Thank you so much. Almost made me cry. I have it here. So I'm very honoured to hold it. But Laverne, thank you so much for presenting me with this. It means a huge amount, not only because I'm just an enormous admirer of your work as an actress, but also because of the way that you stand for the things that matter to you within your work and in your life. And the listening to you articulate that stuff over the last year has just been incredible. So thank you. And you're also the first person that I worked with on this, apart from Alison Brie, and you made the beginning of the film just so wonderful. So thank you for your work in the film and for giving me this virtually. Oh, it's just incredible to see those films all together, and I can't express how thankful I am for the actors that I've worked with and the directors that I've worked with. Seeing it all put up there, just it reminds me of the incredible opportunities that I've been afforded and the people who've taken chances on me. And so I'm so honoured to have gotten that chance, and I'm hoping to keep trying and keep learning and keep trying to muscle my way into films with brilliant people. And Santa Barbara is something, the Santa Barbara Film Festival is something that means so much to me, because obviously that's where I started my journey with an education with Saoirse and with Emily, and to be back here for this film that means so much is just very full circle and very meaningful. So thank you so much, and thank you to Pete for taking me through that little trip down memory lane, that little time traveling trip. It was lovely.
Well, thank you, and we can't wait to see you on Saturday Night Live this week. Back to acting, and thank you everybody for joining us today for this wonderful tribute to Carey Mulligan. And I think you'll all agree, what a career. And Laverne, big fan also. Thank you, and thanks, guys. We'll do it again next year. Thanks.